Is everyone, are we feeling lively? Mostly alive? Oh, dang, I see double thumbs in the back. Oh, right. Somebody's got juice in the tank. So, we're going to be talking today about specifically streaming things that are not video games on platforms such as Twitch, because everybody and their mother's uncle has a gaming stream, but not everybody does some of the stuff we do. So, what I'd like to do is have everybody introduce themselves and talk a little bit about the sorts of streams you do that are not gaming. Tabletop gaming, I think, is allowed here, but video gaming, since we're talking about streaming beyond games, I think that'll be the cutoff point. So, starting at the end of the table.
Hi, I'm Winton B. I am Forging Winton on Twitch and TikTok. I mainly do blacksmithing streams, forging everything from blades to little knickknacks, hair sticks, pendants, stuff like that.
Hi, I'm Chelsea Bites. I love to build computers on my streams. I also love doing IRL streams. I love to cook on my streams. Anything that we can just do something silly, make a narrative, and move on. So really, really fluid.
So on PG Undesirables, I do this. I stream pinball, IRL pinball with actual pinball machines, the screen itself, and it's a ridiculous setup. There, talk about it.
I'm Phaedra Black, and I stream coloring and Lego builds. The Lego builds are really fun. They just get expensive, so you kind of gotta slide something else in there on occasion.
And I'm Josh Maltby. I sometimes stream TTRPG stuff, but most frequently what I'm streaming is a digital book club, which having a Twitch chat be part of your book club stream is interesting. So, why did you all pick streaming for the type of content you make? Why not something like a pre-recorded format like YouTube? Why not? I think I know why we didn't all go podcasts based on what we all just said. Although I could do with like a 10-hour Bean, just a 10-hour forging. Like
ASMR.
I put Bean on sometimes when I'm working on something, like when I'm doing a lot of like writing or something like that, because man, there's something about hearing metal being just smashed into place it's great. I love it. So please, why did you pick live streaming as your avenue for that?
Mainly it came from because I also teach blacksmithing. I enjoy showing off. I enjoy letting people see what I'm doing. Also, I'm horrible at editing videos. So I'm just like, Twitch stream. That's easy. So,
There's like that layer of forgiveness that you don't get if you edit.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
I understand that completely. Editing it's a whole nother realm. But yeah, that interaction. I need that immediate response with something that I'm working on. I might need critique. And I might want to talk about something that I normally don't get to talk to people about because I usually do it by myself. I wasn't building computers in front of people before. And then when I started doing that, I learned everyone else's practices. So it taught me something. Yeah.
Pinball is actually an inherently social game because most people aren't idiots like me who actually buy these things. So you actually have to go out into the public and be around other people and hang out around a game and play. So doing it on Twitch is a very natural fit because it's that same experience of playing the game, having your friends around who inevitably are super supportive in what they're saying while you're playing. And it's just, it's a great time.
I started mine because it was during COVID, and I was already streaming video games, and then I think it was like Fridays. It was like Friday during the day because I started doing the Legos just to have like something chill for people to just kind of watch and hang out and end their week. And people really started calling it visual ASMR for a while because half the time they weren't listening. And there were long stretches that I didn't even talk because everybody's work and their meetings and whatnot. They're just watching. It's fun and it's relaxing. It was a good way I think to end the week for a while when everybody was super stressed. And I just kind of stayed with it.
It's a good motivator to keep going. For our book club, we started that up during the height of the pandemic. Everybody was locked up in their houses. We wanted some way to connect with our community. My company, Goblins and Growlers, we were doing a lot of in-person public games at breweries and places like that. And so we had all these people who were really used to gathering in one place very frequently, who all of a sudden were all told to go stay home. So we wanted something that we could do as a group that wasn't going to be hard to get into, that wasn't going to take a lot of effort. And so it felt obvious, like, first of all, we can do a book club, and then we can do it digital on Twitch, because then anybody who wants to jump in and talk about the book that we were reading that month can do so whenever they want. And you don't even have to have finished the book, he says, knowing full well that he has finished maybe half of the books before Twitch stream time. Yeah, it's hard being busy. So each of us has kind of a different pocket that we inhabit in the internet. How did you find your audience? How did you find your niche and really reach out to folks so that some of the folks here who might be thinking of doing unusual Twitch streams of their own would be like, oh yeah, that's a good strategy.
For me, I'm still growing my community. I have a few regulars that I see pop in on chat. Mainly with my streams, because it is so niche. There's a lot of people that are just like, oh, I'm wanting to learn blacksmithing, I'm wanting to get into it, or I'm wanting to find other creators, and they just search through the tags and they'll find my stream popping up and they're like, oh, him. So that's how I kind of started building mine. It's also helped having Discord communities that I'm part of. Just we'll share it in there and have friends in there be able to follow me as well. So
I feel that. That's real. I'm surprised you haven't had somebody come in yet and be like, okay, you really need to like hold your hammer like this.
oh, I have.
Oh,
Oh, I have. I've had people go
No
like,
back
where?
name tag on it?
yeah, you need
I'm
that.
like, I've just had people come in and go like, where are your gloves? Where's your safety? I'm just like, I've done this for 10 years. Gloves just lose dexterity, and I have my glasses on.
I get the same questions. They're like, what are you need to be careful with those screwdrivers. I'm like,
Mhm.
it's a screwdriver. But same, around the same deal. I didn't start like just building computers. I really just started talking. It's been a lot of my streams just on my phone, front forward camera. So like the worst camera you could have, just talking to whoever just popped up on the chat. And they would ask me like, who are you? What are you doing? Like, what's your, it's weird how invested. I guess for me then it was just weird how invested people were in you when they came into your channel. They were like, so what is your goal on Twitch? I'm like, what? I'm like, goal. I mean,
There's
I'm
goals?
right, exactly. So just talking and then finding out like, oh, you're a computer scientist. They're like, I wouldn't have expected that. You talk a lot and you're really loud. So exact opposite of what I expected from a CS major. I was like, yeah, I've built computers and all this and that, and I like Java and JavaScript and C++ and blah, blah, blah. They're like, please, you don't. And I'm like, okay, fine. So I showed them my builds, and from there, it kind of just sprinkled certain things in throughout my content. So, of course, I still play video games when I can, but there's always something different happening each week, each month. And I think my limit was when I started doing coding streams. Oh my god.
I don't even want to think about what
Right.
chat in a coding stream is like.
The back streaming
It
feeding
is-
would be
it is-
amazing.
Oh my
Made a
god.
mistake 10 lines up.
Right. I'm like,
Variable music.
right. I'm like, please. I'm like, let me just get the idea out and let me refactor it like we would do in a regular cycle. You know how this works. So yeah, just pulling back from that. And that's ultimately how we got to where we are now. I have to hear about this pinball.
When I started out doing it, there weren't many pinball streamers. The pandemic actually spawned quite a few because a lot of people had the same sort of realization of, hey, this is way more fun when you have people around and you're talking. As far as like kind of how I've been on Twitch, I've always viewed myself as a pinball evangelist. So I don't really cater to the pinball crowd, oddly enough, because look, there are people who are actually good at pinball and they're streaming on Twitch. I'm not gonna go for that. Instead, I just do what everybody, networking, which is, making friends, right? And so you meet a lot of people, and then they find out what I do, and they're like, "What?" And then so then they'll rate me or whatever, and then people find out about it, and then I just try to sell them on Pinball's the greatest game ever made. And that's kind of been the process. So I have a community that's not as heavily pinball focused as you would think. They're just a bunch of people who got somehow pulled into my stream at some point and thought, "Hey, this is actually pretty fun." And then I get the most satisfying of messages when somebody DMs me a screen, just like a selfie in front of a pinball machine. They're like, "I played pinball because I watched you," and that's like that's my high moment right there.
You do tarot too, though. You don't
Oh
just
yeah,
do pinball.
I didn't even get to the pinball.
I know, but you do more than just the pinball.
Right. Well, because once you get to pinball, you climb the mountain. There is no more type of streaming left that is going to be difficult. So I also do tarot on Twitch, which is it only takes 2 cameras instead of 3. I only need 1 microphone. I mean, it's really not that complicated at this point. So I think I've got this for context. Yeah. I use a VTuber avatar when I do tarot just because I don't feel like putting on my makeup and getting my hair up into a hawk every time I do it. So yeah. So I have my little virtual arcade, my avatar, and then just my mouse pad is a green screen. And there's just on top of this, I've got overhead camera, which is obviously the front camera to capture the face, and then I've got the camera around my neck to do hand contracting. So you'll notice that I can wave and stuff. So yeah, right. And this kind of gets back to the whole I have a very odd community because you wouldn't think like, oh yeah, no, pinball and tarot, that makes perfect sense. So that I guess that answers the question.
How is my next game going to go? The tower, no! We were talking about how you found your niche and kind of how you built your community.
Mine was mostly just started with video games, and then it was I just want to do something else because I was streaming like 2 days a week, and then I started streaming 3 days a week, and then I started streaming the 4th day a week, and I was like, I don't know what other game to play. Let's find something else to do because I don't want to play games the whole time. And since it was like 2020, I had collected all of these Legos, and I was like, well, between streaming and parenting and all the other things I was doing, I don't have time to build my Legos. So let's just do it on stream. And there's not that many people that do. So if you talk about it on any form of social media, like you're going to draw in people that are like, Legos, what? I want to see.
Especially if you're building really unusual stuff. I imagine there's a big audience for like, oh God, I've always wanted to see what it's like to construct that 10,000 piece set.
The worst ones that I actually did was the first like round of the helmets the Star Wars helmets that came out. I have never gotten like frustrated and wanted to rage quit anything in my entire life until I was doing the black tie helmet and getting like the little like the 2 things that current the whole.
Mm-hmm.
I think I threw Legos. And then I was like, I'm gonna end this stream because I'm gonna get in trouble.
Yeah, that's fair.
It was bad.
So, like I said before, our audience was kind of baked in. We already had a lot of people who were coming out to games. What's been interesting is the few folks that have found us through the book club stream that have then joined the community from there. It's not been super frequent because I guess part of the problem I run into, and I don't know if y'all have this issue as well, is that Twitch doesn't have a great category for book club.
Actually, doesn't have one for Legos either.
We do have one
Or
with pinball.
smithing.
You have one for pinball, but there's not one for Legos.
I think they
We
finally.
lobbied hard for that.
I think mine goes under makers and crafting. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I end up in just chatting, which I think gets me lost very quickly.
I feel you because I remember when coding had a category. I think recently now you can make your own like custom ones, of course.
You
But
can do
Yeah, you can do your own.
yeah,
Custom tags.
but it's like now someone has to search my custom tag.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't like that they took that standard away. I miss it and I want it back. But I kind of get where it's like, oh well, how do I make a category for everything? And that's where you start. You come in with the interest, and then you can push and get an actual category for
I-
book reading. 'Cause I'm shocked.
Right. I'd be okay if the category was as broad as books.
Right.
Like, just give me.
Give me a book.
There are people who want to look at like book reviews, etc., on Twitch. Just give me those people. Bring them to me.
Truly.
I have had a lot of success with being in a wide variety of Discords and popping in, especially when we're getting ready to start the next book, being like, hey, folks, if you want to get in on it, we're just about to start reading Mexican Gothic by Silvia Maria Garcia. And it is a horror book, but it's supposed to be kind of a saucy horror book. So I'm excited about that. And if you just drop into people's Discords or social media or etc., and you're like, here's what we're doing, here's when we're going to stream it. Also, you can get into our community and talk about it literally anytime over here. I feel like it incentivizes people to just drop in and feel a lot more casual about it.
Well, all of Discovery on Twitch is terrible. It's just a matter of degrees.
Yeah.
You're in like even worse shape than I am, where it's no one's going to get recommended a pinball stream unless they go looking for it. It's not like pinball's just going to pop up on their front page. So it's
The dream.
the dream.
The
Right?
dream.
We've tried. We have tried because we have 2 partners in the pinball category, and we've tried. But well, I mean, it has happened. I mean, I've been on front page because of Extra Life. So I mean, it has happened, but it's not a regular occurrence. And so
Sure.
Twitch recommendations suck, and there's just no good mechanism inside the platform. So it's like everyone has to go outside of Twitch to become discoverable, whether it's TikTok or Discord or Instagram, anything but Twitch for discoverability.
Unless you're one of the top tier Call of Duty players, and then you're fine.
Well, then you've already done it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you've already climbed the mountain.
Right.
It's-
You know,
So-
orgs are great. Thank you, orgs, for bringing the
Oh.
top 001% into Twitch.
So I want to talk about setups, especially because on the far end of the table, like middle down, we've got some really odd gear that gets involved in what y'all are doing. Like, Bean, I know, don't you primarily use a lavalier mic
Yes.
for all your recording?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have a Canon Vixia is like my main camera that just shows like, okay, here's me just walking around forging everything. And I have a webcam pretty much strapped up to like the garage like ceiling beams just to show the anvil, like actually get like a good view of what I'm working on. And then I have another camera that I usually just point into the forge, just so people like when I'm like, okay, we're not going to be forging for a bit, we'll just let people see the fire and see the metal heating up. And then I have a lavalier mic that I've gone through. This is my 3rd lavalier mic that I'm just like, okay, what gives the best sound quality? Because like when I started out on a really not great laptop and maybe 1 or 2 cameras, and then I've just built up from there, and now I'm at like an actual, here's a tower, here's like some good cameras, here's the good mic that I'm still having to mess with every stream, just because I'm like, okay, is this too loud? Is the forge just deafening? And because like it picks up that forge so easily in that enclosed space. So
I'm already like imagining all the different ways we can. I'm like, we should just mic up the anvil, tune it. Let's get a Shure SM7B. Let's just get like a whole interface. Yeah. No, I feel you on that. Like I'm loud, okay? Like that's me. I yell. Like truly. I have to teach myself not to yell into certain mics. Like this is the quietest you guys will ever hear me. Your treat. Good morning. I have this wireless phone mic that I use. You've seen them. Like you clip them on your shirt. You can put them on a handheld microphone. They're great. They have a transceiver. I always get this wrong. A transceiver and an emitter, and basically you can hook it up to your camera. And as long as you keep them kind of in range, you can take this mic on the go, and you can tune it somewhat.
yeah, like the
Somewhat.
one I have a what is it, a Cinco
Yes.
And so like I just have the one, like the receiver just plugged into the camera, and then I just have the other one just in my pocket with like the mic cord just going up hooked onto usually this apron. So
Exactly. And it's convenient, but
Yeah.
it's like it's not the quality that I want it to yet. I would love to have something where I can just like yell at it from here and it's fine. Like you can hear me crisp and clear. So that's just like one of the woes you're gonna learn with any setup is audio. I'm sorry. It just is what it is. And it'll, especially if you're digital, like if your stuff doesn't just plug in and it works, like you're gonna have to deal with updates. You're gonna have to deal with, wow, why is this not picking up my sound on OBS?
yeah, for a while I was able to just plug the receiver into the computer, and then that just stopped working. So I'm like, where?
That's Windows update.
Yeah, and I'm like,
Random updates.
Yeah,
Oh, the
nothing makes a
camera
streamer
works.
sweat more than seeing the Windows update.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, oh no.
oh god,
Oh yeah.
damn! I was trying to stream right now.
Right.
Oh, an hour delay.
Oh, I have delayed because audio was just like, oh, you wanted to work right now? No. How about no?
Not gonna
Heart. No. Yeah, that is like I've learned very quickly and still to this day. Can you please start checking your stuff like an hour before? It's a lot of time to prep. I am jealous of people who can just hop into a stream. Like, right. All of you. Like,
Our envy knows no limits.
no
Yeah.
limit. I don't know how they do it. They just turn it on. They're like,
Well,
I'm
because
live.
they have like the permanent setup
Right.
that just like nothing changes, nothing
Yeah,
gets
nothing
moved.
changes.
And then for like our stuff, we're just like constantly having to like shift that camera like with mine after the streams and after like everything cools down. I have to move everything just to make room in the garage so we can just get in there, get whatever we need out of there. So like every stream is just like at least a half-hour setup of just like, okay, drag this anvil to, is this the right spot?
I feel like we just need to get you the Forge of Gold.
Yeah.
Yes, we need to make a whole setup for you where it
That's
just
the plan
does not
eventually, where
move.
it just like, this garage is just mine, just for all this setup.
Don't touch it.
Yeah.
I feel that. And I'm going to just quickly go over my stuff. I used to stream from a corner in California when I started. Like, I literally had something as big as this. And that
That's your
was
setup, right?
basically, yeah. Oh, this is a new thing. I'm going to talk about this.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is my to-go box. And so I am trying to figure out the best way to stream all these different ways. So you can stream at home. You can have everything land down, everything's nailed down. You have the permanent setup. And then, of course, you have your IRL streams where you have a backpack and you want to walk the buildings and you want to interview people and you want to, show them what you're eating at this restaurant, Starbucks, blah, blah, blah. We made our own backpack. That was fun. My goodness, the way it is really difficult just sourcing the right parts. And that was so much fun. But then there's also taking your actual stream on the go. Like, no, I don't want to stream on the street. Like, I just want to take what I have at home and move it to a hotel or move it to a B&B or move it to my family's place because I just need to stream in another state for this weekend. And I need the quality to be there. I need to be able to play a game and read whatever script or chat or whatever. So that was the inspiration behind this setup, which super, super interesting journey. So those are the ROG Strix monitors. I think they're like 144 hertz or up to 200 plus. Those are really expensive. This is not a cheap setup whatsoever. And I say that because small parts, small builds, the smaller you go, the more expensive it gets. You're paying for convenience. And that's just the fact of buying parts. And especially in this economy, I bought this was like almost a year ago. So it was even worse then.
Yeah.
But that thing right there, if I could, yes, that little box, of course, up there is my actual computer. I love that thing. It's literally like lunchbox size. And that's what I use because I was in California for a long time visiting family back home in Texas. So a lot of work would just overlap and I have to do it from their home. So my setup changed a lot. It was me setting up I would bring my camera. I would bring my mirrorless camera. I use a Lumix G7 with a Sigma lens, and I just pop it up there. 'Cause everything else would be set up. I would just pull it out of the box, and it'd be done. And that was the most convenient thing because I traveled quite a bit in 2021, and that saved my life. So I was like, man, maybe somebody could use this guide just in case they travel as much as I do, or if they just need it for a one-off situation as well. So yeah, that's me with my setup. That's how it looks now. It may change in the future.
All right, buckle up. Let's. We'll start with. I think I'll just talk through this load. All right. So the pinball streaming setup. There's a couple of like things that you have to kind of deal with. I don't just stream from my house. I go out to arcades and stream, which means I have to be able to move this thing. So all of this, I have a rule for myself. I have to be able to carry all of my gear and have one hand free so I can hit the bar, get my beer, and then walk back to the arcade. Self limitations. It kind of helps you streamline things. So as far as actually, I can turn off. So as far as equipment goes, I use one main tripod with a boom arm on the top. That's your downward facing camera. It's Sony Handycam CX405 running into one of I don't know how many USB or HDMI USB encoders I have at this point. Then you kind of go down here. There's a boom arm over here. Another Sony Cam CX405. That one's pointing at my face. Down this way, the one that I point at the store. That's just using a Logitech Stream Cam for that because for the most part, look, my scores are terrible anyways, and it's fine.
Well, the screen resolution on pinball machines isn't exactly 4K.
I mean, it depends. Like modern machines are 1080p. But yeah, like some of the games I have, they're like 90s games. Yeah, I think they're 128 by 64. Yeah, so it's a dot matrix display, so most of the time it's fine. Then I've got another boom arm over here to the microphone, so that's bringing it as close to my face as I can without totally obscuring, getting in the way of my view. And I just have multiple microphones. There's no good answer to what microphone to use. You have to evaluate the situation. Am I in an arcade that's incredibly loud? You probably don't want to use a condenser microphone in that situation. It's going to pick up way too much background noise. So then I've got like two different dynamic mics, and they're varying degrees of how wide is their pickup pattern. Because if I'm playing with other people, you're going to want to hear the people standing to the side of me. If it's just me, then I should probably use a little bit more direct pickup pattern, so it kind of just filters out all the background noise as much as you can. And then finally, there's another microphone that faces the pinball machine, which is a dynamic mic that I push right up against the speaker. That's right up here. There's a light source over here. One of the things, it doesn't matter what camera you have, if you want to get really good, smooth 60 frames per second motion, it requires a lot of light, which is the exact opposite of what you find in an arcade. So I have to bring in my own light, and then I have a small portable table that can fit in my backpack that I put my laptop sitting on. I also have if I'm really in a pinch, like a tight spot where I can't put my laptop next to the machine, I've got a clamp that goes onto the boom arm and provides a tray to sit my laptop on. This box over here, this is where when I travel, that's where everything gets packed into that, except for the tripod and the laptop. The laptop goes in the bag, the tripod goes in a tripod bag that I can sling over my shoulder. Again, the rule is I have to be able to carry everything with one free hand. Am I using anything? My mics are all XLR, so that's just the Scarlett 2-in XLR interface. Highly recommend.
There's a question that occurred to me when I initially saw your multitude of setups, which are all beautiful. Which is, do you just walk into a bar and say, "Hello, yes, I would like to stream pinball here," and they go, "Okay, sure," and then you start hauling gear in, or do you have to call in advance, make sure they're okay with it, arrange a time?
Shocking, but the pinball community is not that big, so everyone kind of knows each other. So it's a matter of I know all the arcade owners in town. They're happy to have me come in, and and as I've described before, pinball evangelists. They're like, yes, go spread the good word to the nerds on Twitch. So it's it's a prearranged thing, but they're well aware of who I am, and they're giving me all the blessings in the world to go forth and do it. Typically, they'll hand me the keys to the game so I can open it up and put credits on it for myself.
Nice.
Like that, and like pinball machines actually come in different shapes and sizes. Some of them stupid. This is a monstrosity called Baby Pack. It's a hybrid between an arcade game and a pinball machine. And the speaker's down here for reasons I don't understand. So you can see that you have one mic down there, one up top for the same pieces, just rearranging them for different type of pinball machine. And then finally, like the third type of game. This is one I have in my house with my lovely collection of lightsabers next to it. Lightsabers. So this is a cocktail table pinball machine, and so again, it's for this one, there is no obvious score, right? The score is actually down here, so the overhead can pick it up. So that leaves me with a free camera. So I just put it on another tripod, stick it in front of me, and point it down. So everyone thinks that's a cool view, the view where you see like from like down here into the ball. It's useless. It's just it looks really cool, but it's not like you can actually tell what's going on because you see the ball moving back, the flippers moving. It's the overhead view actually shows you what I'm doing. So yeah, there's a few setups, and then when I'm doing my tarot stuff, this is just a gratuitous glory shot of this is my desktop setup. So yeah, this is just absurd.
Is it swordfish that you're doing here, or?
Okay, I do have an excuse. So you can see the one up at the very top here. That's the Sony Handycam CX405, my go-to camera. But the reason I have 6 monitors is because of COVID. I had 3 monitors, and my office had 3 monitors working. When they told me, you can work from home now, and they're like, would you like to take your 3 monitors? I said, yes, I would. And so then it was a matter of going, I need 2 graphics cards because there's not enough HDMI ports for this nonsense. And so, that's how I ended up with 6 monitors. And they're all on, like the big monitor arms with the base mounts.
So I know all of y'all who are thinking about going, I want to do some streaming on Twitch that's not a game, and this is super daunting. Like, it's kind of crazy. So we're gonna take a couple steps back because I'm super basic. Make it a little bit more, easy to at least get into as far as if anyone that wanted to try it. You don't have to start off with all of the fancy, expensive equipment.
No.
I didn't.
And none of us have. Like, even my gaming setup, I started off with a laptop, and that was it. And that's a whole other story. But as far as doing the different types of streams, like I have my base one for my gaming stream, but my second camera's my phone. Elgato has an app that you can put on your phone, and it connects to your computer wirelessly through this or Bluetooth, but usually wirelessly, and it will actually go through your OBS software and use it as a completely separate camera. And it actually makes it really easy to move it around. You can wear it. I have it on an arm that I can swing around when I'm doing my Legos, because then there's one camera on me, and then the phone's like right here where everybody can see like the builds for the Legos. So it is easy to get into starting it. So I don't want people to think that you need all of these things to start. Just like with regular streaming, you don't need all of the big equipment to start. You get something, you start with it, and you add things as you go. Because so many people are like, I want to do this. I want to be able to do IRL streams. Well, okay, your phone can do it.
Right.
Like, you can do it, and you can have it look professional as long as you pay attention to the things that you can control. Like your audio, you can still use it. You can still modify it a little bit. With the Elgato app, the free one doesn't have a microphone, but the paid one does. And it's only like $8. It's only $8. But also, as far as your lighting, like get a little selfie light. Like you can buy them for super cheap, and that is
little ring lights,
right. And they literally can clip on your phone, and you can start like IRL streams and stuff that way, because your lighting is going to be your biggest thing, and that's going to be the difference between looking like you have a more professional setup versus not. Because you'll see people with the IRL streams, you can't see anything. It's really hard. And they are using their phone, but you can use small things just to give it a little bit more polish. I think
another one of the big ones in there is just learning camera angles, learning how to position the cameras right for either the IRL walking down the street streams, or again with my forging setup, just figuring out what camera angle works best to show what's going on and properly be able to see what everything that's happening. Because walking around with your phone live streaming just like down at your waist, like that shows
You're
nothing.
gonna make people dizzy.
Oh yeah.
My kid does that. She'll like call me on FaceTime and she'll be like, "Mom, I want to show you something." She'll run down the hall holding her iPad. I'm like, I can't.
Yeah.
Like, no. But you kind of have to. That's how you're gonna be with walking around. You don't want to like run. You kind of want to get like a good pace. You don't want to bobble along
Yeah.
because you're gonna like get people.
Right. It turns out you don't need a gimbal. Just try to keep your arm steady. Like, I mean, I think one of the things that, if I could give any advice, is that, what Pedro said, is that you do not need to jump into the deep end. In fact, like, you could probably ask any of us, like, what things to get first and in what order so that you have, like, an upgrade path, because I've flown through so much hardware that I got and went, oh, this will be great. And then you outgrow it. And you're like, well, nope. And it's like one of the ones I would say to somebody: do not buy a blue snowball. You will regret it because it does not grow with you. You're going to hit a point where the blue snowball is not the correct microphone, and you're like, why, oh, why did I not buy an XLR interface in just a cheap XLR mic? It would have costed me like $20 more, and I would have had a part of the XLR interface that I would keep for the rest of my streaming.
Things you can upgrade or modify instead of having to just start over.
Now, if you do have that dough, okay, we can talk. All right. I just charge a small fee on the side. I can get you where you need to go. Absolutely.
Right. I mean, you can tame a blue Yeti or a blue snowball, but it's a process of taming it to try to get good quality sound out there.
Yeah.
Or you
At
could
MomoCon.
just. Oh, that's terrible.
Those are the ones we had at
Those
MomoCon
are
for the
condenser
live
microphones.
streaming, and
So,
my picking up all of like the
Right.
sound in MomoCon
Do
for
not
live
use a
streaming.
condenser microphone in a noisy environment.
Next year, no.
Yes.
But
No.
but like once you go to XLR setups, now it's like you can have. I've got a condenser mic for soft areas. I've got dynamic mics for loud areas. So it's a much cheaper, much more flexible path.
Let's do some vocab real quick. I thought about that. So XLR for me is think analog. You can plug that input directly like a microphone into an interface, and I can't describe the input right now.
It's-
but
This is an
it's
XLR
literally
microphone. It
that.
has this connector on the end of it.
It's a big, thick cable with basically a 3-prong plug
Yes.
on the end of it that goes right into a board or an extension or whatever
Yes.
you're using.
It is the audio. Like you see a band playing, they're using XLR microphones.
It's really
It's
nice
very ubiquitous.
because you plug it in and it works. Now there are digital mics, of course, which plug through USB. So you got USB-C,
Yep.
USB-A. They're not bad. It's convenient. You can take them with you, plug them into a laptop, and it'll plug in and work on the basic drivers that you have. Sometimes you don't have like the room to bring an interface. I do have room for an interface on mine, but sometimes you gotta work with what you gotta work with. So there's digital XLR, and then I think we were discussing something else. Oh, condenser and dynamic mics. So just learning like how you speak. I move a lot, as you can tell. Like I've been talking to you like this, and I've been talking to you like most people will sit here and they will address the mic, and they are very well mic trained. So once you learn who you are, I worked with a condenser mic for a long, long time. I had an AT2020 USB Plus, and
That's the number one mic to
That
start with.
that was my husband had it for work. So when he wasn't at work, I'd just take it and be everywhere in my room. Hey guys, what's going on? And they could hear me from all the way over there. It picks up every little thing. Now that I have started doing a little more work with people who are like, we don't want to hear your cat scratching at your door when we're
When I hear the fan
streaming.
across the room.
They're like, we love them very much, but please. So then I moved on to an REV20, and that, while I can still kind of move, it really, really just gets all that sound right there. It sources it in one spot. So just learn those small differences, decide on your price point, decide what's convenient for you. Options.
So the ATR, I think the ATR 2020, it's a microphone that looks about like this. But what makes it such a good starter microphone is it works over both USB and XLR. So when you start out, use it as a USB mic, and then once you get to the point where you're ready to upgrade, then you can get an XLR interface and start going from there. So it's a mic that you can keep using throughout the entire time that you're streaming, as opposed to something like a Blue Yeti, which you will buy and eventually be like, this isn't the right mic for the job.
Yeah, you'll buy another one and another
And
one.
XLR microphones are much less expensive than USB microphones because all of your processing is done in the XLR interface. The microphone's a fairly dumb device.
Yeah, I was going to hard counter the never use a USB mic argument because everything I do is on a USB mic. I'm going to tell you the secret to using a USB mic and having it be effective. Do not use USB whatever to A, which is that little rectangular port that you're used to seeing on computers. Use a USB-C mic. Most computers that are modern are going to have a USB-C port on them, and that is a significantly higher bandwidth. It's got better power to it. It's just a generally better connection. The ATR 2500X is a USB-C mic. That's what I use for everything. Podcasting, streaming, whatever it is, that's the mic that I've got because my setup right now is either in my office where I've got like my Logitech C615, which is like a $60 webcam. And then I've got my ATR 2500X, which is like a $130 microphone. And then I've got my big broad screen and my computer, and I'm running with that. But sometimes, because I live in an apartment with my fiance, and we both record on the same podcast, I pick up my entire setup and move it to the dining room table. And I record or stream or whatever I'm doing from there. So I need something that's really, really compact, and that sometimes if I need to just pick it up and go somewhere else, because I'm in an apartment. And sometimes when you're in an apartment, your neighbors start making really loud noises in a specific part of the house. And you have to be like, hold on, chat, I'll be back in just a minute. And you hit pause, and then you like run to another room. You're like, none of my audio or video is going out right now. You just rip your laptop up from what you're doing, grab your microphone in one fist, laptop in the other, and then rush over to your bedroom. And you're like,
cable just draped around your neck.
yeah, just USB cable draped around your neck so that if you trip, you die. Yeah, like it's intense, but it ends up being, because of the situation I'm in and how I'm set up, it ends up just being the better solution for me. So really, the gear that you can get can be good gear, and there's a lot of used stuff on the market that you can get for even cheaper. The big thing is learning how to use that gear. And we were talking about like learn your lighting, learn your camera angle, learn where to position your mics. All of it is on YouTube. And I think
Just Google it.
I went from no knowledge, absolutely no experience, absolutely no ability to do anything well. I was the guy who was like, I'll sit back here. I'll still be heard. It'll be fine.
Right.
No.
I mean, I had to learn all kinds of new sound stuff for 2020 because I had my sound set up a certain way, and then everyone started working from home. So instead of being home by myself all day, there were so many more people in my house. There was the kid doing school from home. There was everyone working from home, and it's like, okay, now you guys are interfering in what I'm doing on a daily basis. You're supposed to be here. So having to reconfigure your sounds and your audio and how your mics pick up this, and you really started playing with noise gates and all of these things to where my kid could be sitting in the living room, because I used to stream in the dining room. Yes. Because, that was just how it worked in our apartment. And then when my kid was home doing her school, she had her desk in the living room. And it's like, how can I make sure that isn't picked up over here? But Google, and there were so many YouTube videos that literally will walk you through how to do all the different filters, whether it be in OBS or if you're using a USB mic, or how to walk through how to change it with all of your other settings. You can learn. You just have to be patient with it and do your research, like anything.
One of the things with, like, without going way too deep into this, you touched on USB. So one of the problems that you'll hit with a 3-camera setup when you're determined to do 3 cameras at 60 frames per second uncompressed is you will run out of USB bandwidth.
Yeah.
So USB is a limited, there's a limited amount of data that you can throw over the bus. So, like, for example, when I bought this laptop, this is laptop number 2, laptop number 1, I found the limitations. So this laptop has a Thunderbolt port on it. And And the reason for that is Thunderbolt and USB don't share bandwidth. You can put a USB adapter on the Thunderbolt port. So that way, you can spread out your load of all your USB devices. And most webcams are USB 2.0, and USB 2.0 will eat through all of its bandwidth. The USB 2.0 bus and the USB 3.0 bus do not share bandwidth. So the 2.0 bus, you can saturate that thing with like 2 webcams and a microphone. Whereas the 3.0 bus, you can get away with about 2 1080p cameras and a microphone. If you want to go to the third camera, you're going to need 2 buses. So if you have a desktop, just put another USB card in it. Fine. If you have a laptop, you really have to think ahead. Make sure that it has both Thunderbolt and USB. That's probably the easiest way to know you have multiple buses.
Y'all made me bring up 2 things then. If you really are hard set on a laptop setup, a powered USB hub is your best friend.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And then with the noise gates and whatnot, you'd be surprised, but NVIDIA has some of the best noise gate software you can find. I had a friend, that's your GPU, right? Like it's in a suite in your GPU, like what? But my friend in New York, they were just firecrackers just going off right by his window, and we heard none of it. He was like, y'all don't hear that? And he unmutes his whole noise gate, and it's just like, I'm like, how are you streaming right now? Like, why are you not running for cover? It was wild how good it was. I think it's some AI adaptive, this, that, the other. Exactly. So really, truly, tools that are already included with probably your GPU. Just look into it. It's somewhere. I wouldn't have never expected that,
Right.
honestly.
Some of
but
them are amazing. Like where I live in the summer, you can literally hear all of the fireworks from Snow Mountain every day, all day, at night. And it's just, if you want to do anything, it's like, oh my goodness.
I mean, I've tried a lot of different noise suppression, and nothing beats NVIDIA Broadcast. It is absolutely the best one out there. So if you have an NVIDIA GPU, get NVIDIA Broadcast. It also does stuff like noise reduction for video. So like it's very versatile, and it does a ton of useful stuff. The other one to look into is the Reaper plugins. They're VSTs. I don't know what a VST is. This is why you Google things. But VSTs are going to let you do things to like tweak your audio, and so you can do like EQ it. Like so you can bring up your lows, maybe up like go okay anything above this many hertz is just annoying line, so cut that. And so there's so much you can do to make your audio sound better. And I have found that bad audio will turn someone off to your stream way faster than bad video.
True.
Absolutely.
So the big point I was trying to make there is you can go from complete novice, knowing nothing, in about an hour and a half of checking out tutorials, you can go from complete novice to passable amateur, and with another 4 or 5 hours of just like tweaking settings, going into other videos, going through tutorials, things like that, you can get up to pretty close to pro grade with really, really basic gear. Because the big thing that cuts the difference between someone who knows absolutely nothing about what they're doing and someone who knows a ton about what they're doing isn't the gear. It's not the gear at all. It's 100% how you're using it. That's why professional photographers can pull out an old cell phone cam and be like, yeah, here's some shots that I got that I didn't have my SLR for. And you're like, God, these are so beautiful.
I agree.
I've used a real camera and I've never accomplished anything like this. What's going on?
I mean,
I
all my
want
vlogs-
Lighting
add.
is like
Yeah.
I cannot stress enough
It's the
on
lighting. Yeah. I want to add with that, like a lot of we do such different things, and I'm not trying to destroy his mic, I promise. We like literally go from smithing to PC building to pinball machines and Legos, but you see how our struggles are really the same. Like truly, all we're trying to do is just present something to you in the best possible light, like with the camera.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
So we've got a little bit of time. If anybody's got any questions here, oh gosh, I see hands already shooting up. Yes. So real quick, because the folks on Twitch can't hear the person in the audience. The question is, for the pinball streams that you do, PB, how do you interact with chat? Which I imagine is going to be an interesting answer because last I checked, you need 2 hands to play pinball.
Yeah, but I only need one eye to reach out. That's so I keep my cell phone attached to the tripod, and I try to keep it like right about here. In pinball, when you get to a certain point, it's not that difficult to trap a ball. Pinball physics. The ball is coming down like this. You flip at just the right time, and you will cancel out the momentum of the ball with the force of the flipper, and the ball will just stop. And then you go like this, the ball rolls up and goes into a cradle, and then I can reach out. Or when I make a shot, I know, okay, for the time it's going to take to go up that ramp, come back around, and go, get back down to my flipper, I can go like that and read and back. And I also accept the fact that I'm a trash to your play. I'm actually state. I'll be going to sit on this. But anyways, I accept that I am not the best player, and that nobody is watching my stream to see the highest level of pinball play. So if I drain a couple of balls, that's just me giving an opportunity to throw excuses out there. One of the most important parts about pinball is having excuses for why you suck. And so for me to go, Chad, why'd you make me drain that ball?
You can't blame
Right. Right.
No, I just love that you described like pause mechanics in pinball. Like, yo, this is how you pause pinball. I'm like, I press my pause button on my Xbox. That's wild.
Right.
Same thing with smithing. Just like, okay, taking a break. This needs more heat into the fire. How's chat doing?
Right. Where I have to kind of keep moving, and
Mhm.
so it is difficult, but it's a skill that you get used to. It also makes me quick aside. I am if I'm playing in a tournament that doesn't have like strict decorum, I am the absolute worst opponent to be next to because I can talk so much trash while I'm playing pinball.
Really?
Because I'm
Really?
pretty good trash talking. And then on top of that, I'm used to playing distracted, so it really throws people off. I was playing in probably the biggest tournament in the world. It was a couple years ago before COVID killed it. I actually, in the middle of playing, trapped the ball, leaned over, picked up my beer, drank, swung while I'm still holding my beer drinking, played with one hand for a few seconds, put my beer back down, and then looked at him while I made a shot and said, "What, you guys can't do that?" Totally threw them off their game.
Every game is toxic deep down
Thank-
inside.
Thank you. We've only got a few minutes, so please go right ahead.
Quick idea I switched to the table. I know y'all focus a lot on audio. I'm considering trying to do a board game stream, which of course is a perfect beginner project, multi-camera setup and all. The first thing is it worth trying to capture the room with one or two mics, or am I gonna 100% have to mic everybody up?
I think you can capture the room with two mics as long as you're not at. Obviously it's going to depend on how many people you have. But getting like a two-interface XLR device, and if the room isn't super loud, you can get away with using condensers. It'll probably be fine.
Okay. The second question is, like I said, I know y'all focus on audio. What would y'all suggest for because I know you do a lot of overhead cam. For the overhead cam, try to capture the table. Any good starting point?
I think just a big, heavy tripod is really. Actually, in particular, the type of tripod I'd recommend is one that's designed to be a speaker tripod, because then it's meant to take a whole lot more weight, and so when you boom way
It's
over,
lateral.
it
not
won't
gonna
tip it over.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I've run at least one board game stream where what I did was I attached my phone to the ceiling fan.
And then turned it on and made everyone vomit.
That's amazing.
So
Awesome.
do
Thank you so much.
what you gotta do.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Phones are good.
First of all, I just want to say hi. You guys are really great, really awesome. Because I started streaming in November, and I remember Twitch being gaming and stuff. And then I was like, I want to crochet, and I'm just like, no one's gonna
Wait,
watch.
did you make your dress?
Yeah,
Literally.
Oh my god, that is so cool.
Good.
First thing.
But I have a question about lighting in particular, because specifically from Chelsea, because we are brown, and I feel like whenever I crochet specifically with white yarn or any kind of significantly brighter color yarn, like pink pastels, etc., all my camera wants to do is either darken me into shadows or blow out my table. And so I have 3 lights set up right now. I am casually trying to make it work. It worked one time, and then I changed my nails. Now they're blue.
Yeah.
So now my camera's like, we can't see you. And I'm like, why is giving Jim Crow? What's going on?
Turn
what are you
all
doing?
of that auto stuff off.
Yeah.
Turn it off, and then you need to. So I had blackout curtains as soon as I could. So I don't know what your room looks like, but if light changes, we're going to change. It just is what it is. So spend some time. I literally did like a 4-panel test. Like, what does my room look like with all of my lights off, like just ambient lighting? Then I would turn on my 4 lights. I turn on my back lights. Any excess lighting, like I have a lot of hue lights, and just do that profile and set it and write it down. Do not let your camera decide what you should look like today.
No, we're beefing. We're beefing right now.
Exactly, because I have beefed with cameras. I feel you. So just literally on OBS, you can go to configure settings on your camera. It'll take you to that device's specific UI, and you can configure it. Make sure all the auto white, the auto focus, the auto whatever off, and then just dial it, and you should be good. Hit me up anytime so we can talk about like what should work. Like it shouldn't. There's so much to get into. Like do you work with a webcam?
I have 2 webcams. I forget what they are exactly. They're kind of like Logitech, but like cheaper.
Yeah,
But
that's
I have
easier.
one facing my hands and I have one facing me, and I
They're
just
the
changed yeah, they're the same. And like I just recently changed my setup where my camera now is like up higher and it has its own light and it does better. But the issue I have is that my table is black, so every time I put white on it, it overcompensates, and I'm just like, stop.
I would love to do that diagram.
I was going to say,
it's going to be a lot of adjusting, manual adjustment of exposure, manual adjustment of light balance, and the more indirect lighting you can throw at it, probably the better off you'll be. So you can say you have a white ceiling, point lots of lights at the ceiling so they'll bounce down, and it'll make the light much softer and much more even.
Just like with photographers that use diffusers, and
Yeah,
it's kind of the same like process.
If
It
you
just kind of
already-
changes the light.
If you have flat panels already that diffuse so much, then you don't have to do that. But absolutely, if you just have like a straight bulb, then do that. But I don't know. We need to talk.
Right, I know it's like,
Yeah.
I have,
Give
like,
us-
I have like one more question real quick too, because I also game occasionally, and my mic decided right now it's going to lag on me, so my audio is off by like literally a second. And it's a USB mic. You guys are talking about USB-C, USB
Yes.
mics there, and I'm just like, okay. Any guidance as to how I could troubleshoot why my microphone wants to be off by half a second when I talk, and when I look at the recording, it's just like it's like the track is here, and then the visual is like here.
It might not even be the mic. It might be like coding or your actual software.
Yeah.
there's so
Yeah.
much to look at.
There's a
but
lot.
Yeah, so I'm just like I've been going through it and I'm trying to figure it out, but I'm just like, okay, am I missing something? Am I overthinking it? Is it
There's a guide that we can definitely throw you a troubleshoot for sure. We'll have
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
please DM us
Catch-
anytime.
I mean, all of us are going to probably.
I was going to say, catch us,
Yeah.
catch us post panel. We've got time for this very last question,
Thank
and then
you.
we're gonna outro.
So this is a question specifically for women. So I'm a jade carver, and that's something I wanted to start streaming. So I guess my question is there any precautions you take to protect your equipment?
For with what I do, I tend to make sure I keep any like cables and everything a bit back. Like I have like where I'm forging, and then it's like another like 6 or so feet until like where my computer is, where a lot of the cable, all the nightmare cables is. And like I just have to make sure and keep an eye on like if the hot steel does slip out and it does go flying, make sure like, okay, is it near the cables? Did it land on the cable? If it did, run over, grab it quickly before it melts through. I've had that a time or two where I'm just like, okay, here's a little bit of an exposed like USB extension cable, but it's barely melted. It's fine.
Hardly melted at all.
Yeah, it's like just that rubber is just that's
I imagine that's a lot of why you use a lavalier mic.
Yes. Yeah, there's no way, like, I've thought about just strapping, like, a boom arm to, like, some of the ceiling beams. I'm like, no.
You'd have to move it too much.
Yeah,
It would distract the screen.
Yeah, I'm just like, okay, lavalier mic, there we go.
And then when you have chat up, like
Mhm.
I'm guessing it's not good on a monitor.
Yeah.
So far away. Like,
Generally, what I do is, like, when I do stop forging just to reheat the metal or whatever, I just take those few minutes or however long it takes just to go, like, okay, lean over, see what the fuck,
but like it's
what they're
you wanna
saying.
keep your distance.
And yeah, just trying to take a second, go like if I'm just grabbing stuff out of the forge and I see something pop up, I'm just like, give me a second, let me work this, I'll read your message in a second. So
All right, thank you.
Be comfortable with letting chat wait to be replied to. You cannot be in all places at once paying attention to all things. You are but a human being. You can be apologetic to chat, though I would recommend being like, thanks for your patience, as opposed to, gosh, I'm so sorry I'm not keeping up with chat.
Or just be completely toxic with chat. It's great. It's too
That is also an option.
Your community is what you make it.
Yes,
But
true.
that doesn't mean don't talk.
Some people don't, though.
Oh yeah.
That's true.
Some people are like,
So-
Yeah.
So we're completely out of time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's start with outros. Tell us where we can find you and these beautiful forging streams you do.
You can find me on Twitch at Forging Winton. That's where I mainly stream. I also do Wednesday random gaming streams. So yeah, that's where you can find me. I also have a TikTok that I try and update when I can, but again, bad at taking videos.
I felt that in my soul. Hi, I'm Chelsea Bites. I play video games a lot, literally anything from, oh my God, what was it, Mortuary Assistant? And then we played Web. Oh, so good, so good. Fridays, we do something different. I just did a chip swap for Intel, a lot of fun. So if you want to come and talk computers, absolutely. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. I have a Discord if you want to come talk to me and ask questions. Thank you.
So PB_undesirables, which is entirely too many letters, but hey, it used to originally be Kimball Undesirables, so I did shorten it. You can find me on pretty much everything with that handle. And yeah, come just find me, talk to me. I love talking about this kind of stuff. And I also do VTuber stuff, so if you want to talk about that, it's another topic, hit me up.
Okay, mine's easy. It's faderblack.com. All my links for everything are there. And I do content across multiple platforms, not just Twitch. So check it all out.
Yeah, similarly, I am linktr.ee/goblinsgrowlers. That's all of the stuff that I'm on. I'm co-owner of that company. I've got a podcast called Quit Pro Roll, and we have our monthly every last Tuesday of the month. We finally moved to a regular schedule because, gosh, that was difficult. Last Tuesday of the month, we do our book club, and this month we're reading Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. All right. Thank you all so much for coming out on this super early.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.